Hey everyone, this is Adarsh. I hope you all are doing okay. In this video, we'll be talking about IBPS interview. Now, interview is something that we have briefly touched upon in the past as well. When IDBA Assistant Manager interview was about to be held, I had put out a video regarding that. So before starting this video, I would just like to say congrats to people who have been shortlisted. I think it's a miracle in itself because a lot of people participate in it and not many people are able to pull it off. Just getting into mains in itself is an achievement, and then getting through mains and reaching to interview, that requires some really serious efforts. I know it because I also prepare for banking exams, and I know how seriously you need to dedicate every day into the preparation if you really want to crack these examinations. IBPS is one of the toughest exams in this country as of now, right? So yeah, congrats to you for that again. And yeah, I've written down a few points over here as far as IBPS interview is concerned. So I'll try and elaborate it in one by one. First one is IBPS does not release the scorecard. So you're always in that dilemma, especially for the people who haven't attempted enough amount of questions, right? Someone who has attempted 85 questions, let's just say. So what, and the cutoff is 70, right? So that person is always skeptical whether he should, prepare for interviews or not, because there's this perception that if you haven't gotten at least 10 marks above the cutoff, you don't stand any chances. They called you because you just happen to be in 1:3 ratio. That's why you're getting an opportunity to sit in front of the interview, which is true to some extent, but my way of looking at it is a very different way. I think you should give your all into the preparation if you have been called for the interview. I mean, you can. It's a good idea to think of all the possibilities. It's a good idea to be reasonable and practical. But my point is that why don't you try, right? You should try. Uh, because it's a big opportunity. You'll become a probationary officer in a public sector bank, and that's not a normal thing. That is some, the repute of a banker in a society is very high, so it's a good opportunity. You should give everything that you have in you into the preparation, right? You can think about all such things. You can think about every possibility that is that is going to go wrong in the interview. But the problem with all these things is that none of these are constructive. So you should just get rid of all these things and you should just prepare for the interview. That's my advice to you, right? Yeah. And the second one is not only in banking, when you enter into any organization, in the interviewer expects that you have planned this whole thing. It is not that you randomly walk into banking exams. You planned this thing, you have done it by design, right? So you should be ready with the answer, because that's the first question they put up to you. They will ask you, why did you choose specifically banking as a career, right? So you should have a very solid answer with that. And now it is something that should be coming from your own mind and your own soul, right? It is not something that you have crammed from somebody else's interview experience on internet, because there are so many answers on internet that in banking promotional aspects are quite good and all. I mean, all these things are really good, but if you're not being honest about it, if you haven't, because we as aspirants, we never consciously choose anything, right? We as aspirants are quite desperate to get into anything, right? It could be banking, SSC, or any other organization for that matter, right? So when you cram somebody else's answer and when you say that in front of the interviewers, that looks a bit fake. Not bit, I mean, that looks totally fake. And the interviewer also expect, because not only you, everybody else is also giving the same answer. So you should have your own answer prepared for it. And if you haven't chosen consciously banking as a career, then you should be upfront about it, right? You should tell them other benefits of banking. You should tell them that, okay, I was preparing for some other exams, but it was not working out. I tried banking and I found that in banking, transparency, like procedure, IBPS is a prosperous organization, and the transparency of selection is very good, and the procedure is quite fast and rapid. So within 6 months of notification, you get the call letter in your hand if you get selected. So yeah, these things you just tell them, and in that way you'll come off as a more honest guy, rather than cramming somebody else's answer and regurgitating it in front of the interviewer. Like, that looks very fake. So I would say that you should not just mug up anybody else's answer and say that in front of the interviewer. That will look really awkward. That's really bad, that you have been given such a big platform and you are just cramming somebody else's answer and just regurgitating it in front of the interviewer, and that gives you a wrong impression in front of the interviewers, right? So that's the second thing. Third one is, Yeah, if you're apprehensive about anything in the interview, it could be your first interview, so you're being anxious what is going to happen. So I would just like to tell you that they are people only, they're human beings, and at some point in their life they would also have been, lost, they would have also been unemployed, so they have gone through the thing that you're going through right now, so they would understand you and they would treat you with utmost respect and courtesy, right? So you should not worry about anything, you should not be apprehensive about anything at all, right? So even if you answer every question wrong, even if you make 100 mistakes, they would still treat you with the same amount of respect and courtesy. So you should not worry about anything going wrong in the interview hall. The only thing that you should concern about is your preparation, how good you are uh, at banking, and at your core competency, the thing that you have done your graduation from. We'll come to that later, right? And then the fourth one is don't try to yeah, fourth one is it's a bit interesting topic. What happens is we because a lot of us, we haven't experienced interview ever, so what we tend to do is that we try to fantasize this idea of interview, because our idea of interview is coming from movies and fictional stories, and YouTube also. A lot of videos are on YouTube in which the interview, the aspirant, he just dazzles interviewers, he just you know puts interview in a shock. So like it's not gonna happen, it is their job, right? They interview every day, so do not try to over impress them, do not try to dazzle them with your answers. It's not gonna happen. Even if you answer every question 100% correct, they're not gonna be like you're not gonna hold a special place in their heart, because it is their job. I mean, they do that every day, so you're not gonna have a very extraordinary kind of impression in front of them. Just try to be normal, okay? The fourth one is content. Yeah, this is a very important thing. Content, banking. So you're entering into banking sector, so they will ask you questions regarding banking, and you don't have to be pro in banking. I mean, you should know simple terms in banking like NPA, bad loans, but whatever you read, make sure that you delve deeper into it. You try to read everything about it, right? So if you're reading about bad loans, then read about NPA also, and just read about what corrections RBI is doing in order to just make all these NPAs go away. So yeah, these kind of things you should study about. I mean, a lot of other things are also in banking. You know it better, I don't know it. Okay, so you try to read. I mean, you don't have to be very technical in everything, but the basic concepts of banking, basic terms that are used in banking, and they wouldn't ask you anything that is related to work experience of banker, so you don't have to study that. Just basic things, right? I told you. Uh, NPA, bad loans, market, how how banks make profit, and yeah, these kind of things. Yeah, I don't have much knowledge about it, so yeah. Banking, and yeah, the fifth topic. This is the fifth point. Fifth point is your core competency. So apart from banking, obviously they will ask you questions regarding banking because you're going into banking sector. But apart from that, they will also ask you questions from your core competency. Core competency means what have you done your graduation from? If you have done it from BSc, BTech, or if you have done the simple BA. BA, I don't think that they will put up questions, but you should know the basics of your graduation. So yeah, that's another thing. Be ready for that. Core competency. Everything is done. Yeah. So that's about it. Yeah, one more thing. So a lot of debate happens on this language. This language debate has been around for a very long time. So I have given couple of interviews in banking, and language has never been my problem, right? And they will ask you a question in a language which you are comfortable in, and even if you're not comfortable in English language, or even if they ask you a question in a language that you're not aware of, let's just say you're not very good in English, right? So if they ask you a question in English, you can take the liberty to ask them that, sir, I'm not really good at it, I'm not comfortable in talking about this language, and then they will very conveniently make you shift to your native language, whether it is Tamil, Kannada, or whatever your native language is. It could be Hindi, right? So they will ask you questions in that language itself, right? And you can easily answer them in Hindi itself, because you're not going into an MNC after getting a job. You're not going to Netherlands to work. You're living in India, right? So you just need to be familiar with the native language. आप उनसे पूछ सकते हो कि सर मैं नहीं हूँ इतना कंफर्टेबल इस लैंग्वेज में, क्या मैं अपनी लैंग्वेज जो भी है उसमें बातें कर सकता हूँ? तो वो ये तो कोई मतलब it's not even a point to be concerned about. That's the last thing that you should be worried about. The only thing that you should be worried about is your context, your content in banking and your content in your graduation. These are the two topics that you should prepare very well. This is something that I have had. This is the experience I have had with banking interviews. So yeah, that's all from my side. I hope everyone who is watching this video will get their name in the finalist, and I really hope that. So yeah, best of luck. Thank you very much for staying that long with me. It's been around 11 minutes. So yeah, thank you very much. Bye.